Doesn't mean that Hillary would have been a good choice either. She was a terrible choice. She's a corrupt politician, one of the most unlikable people that's ever run for office. They were trying to get people to be supporting her just because she's a woman. This is going to be her history. Women, ladies, I stand with her. So there's all these women that have this blind allegiance towards this career politician, completely full of shit. She's been full of shit forever.
What happens when the most controversial figure in modern politics refuses to disappear? When someone who lost the biggest election of their lifetime keeps crawling back into the spotlight like a political zombie that won't stay buried. Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld just delivered the most savage takedown of Hillary Clinton's entire career, and what they revealed will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about American politics.
Hillary says Democrats' trap is pushing woke crap. So the Dems have become so dense that even she's making sense. In a new interview, Hillary Clinton, the first lady of second place, was that terrible?
Just last week, explosive testimony revealed that Hillary Clinton was privately questioning Joe Biden's political viability months before his campaign collapsed. Ron Klain, Biden's former chief of staff, testified before the House Oversight Committee that Clinton expressed serious doubts about Biden's ability to win in 2024. This wasn't public criticism, as this was behind-the-scenes political maneuvering from someone who supposedly supported the Democratic ticket. The woman who lost to Donald Trump was secretly undermining the guy who actually beat him. Think about that level of political calculation. While publicly supporting Biden, she was privately positioning herself as the voice of reason within Democratic circles. Joe Rogan didn't hold back when discussing this revelation, pointing out the incredible audacity of someone who couldn't beat a reality TV star offering political advice about electability. Greg Gutfeld went even further, suggesting that Hillary's political instincts have been so consistently wrong that her doubting Biden might have actually been a good sign for his chances. The timing is particularly damning. This wasn't just casual political speculation. It was strategic positioning from someone who never truly accepted her 2016 defeat. But Hillary's recent political maneuvering pales in comparison to the scandal that should have ended her career decades ago. The private email server controversy wasn't just a technical violation. It was a deliberate attempt to circumvent government transparency laws. While most government officials use standard, monitored email systems, Hillary set up her own private server in her basement. She then used this system to conduct official State Department business, including discussions of classified information.
Like, I was infuriated when people that I knew that I was friends with were trying to tell me that Hillary Clinton was a good choice. And that's the same choice. I'm like, look, I don't know if she's murdered people, but I know that I worry that she's murdered people. That's a real, I really wonder. Like, this Seth Rich
I know, first of all, just leave. You don't even need to go there. You know,
there's so many other things.
There's so many other things that we know for a fact.
The Clinton Foundation, for instance.
You look at Hillary. She uses the phrase, what was it? I wrote it down here. Handmaiden to the patriarchy, which I think she means she's bashing Monica Lewinsky. I'm not sure. But this only is appealing to an ever-shrinking circle of feminist women, the same who bow to the altar of trans men and keep silent when real women are victimized by really bad men. But again, it's another assigned opinion that's lazily presented, men against women. Will her new foreign policy class change minds that she's a horse's ass? This week, Columbia University shared a video promoting a new course that's co-taught by Hillary Clinton. Believe me, no one's more thrilled to have Hillary out of the house than Bill. Speaking of Bill, if you're a lady who is a solid 8 or above, he'll tutor you for free.
When investigators finally gained access to her communications, they discovered that over 30,000 emails had been permanently deleted. Hillary claimed these were personal emails about yoga routines and wedding planning. But think about this logically. Who deletes 30,000 personal emails? Most people can't even delete 30 photos from their phone without second-guessing themselves. FBI Director James Comey's investigation revealed that 110 emails contained classified information, with some marked at the highest levels of government secrecy. Joe Rogan perfectly captured the absurdity of the situation, comparing Hillary's email management to a teenager trying to hide their browser history before their parents check their computer. Greg Gutfeld pointed out that if any regular government employee had done this, they would have been immediately fired and potentially prosecuted. Yet Hillary faced no real consequences. Other than losing an election, she probably would have lost anyway. The deleted emails weren't just a cover-up, they were evidence of a pattern of behavior that extended far beyond simple government communications. Many of these emails likely contained correspondence related to the Clinton Foundation, the family's massive charitable organization that raised hundreds of millions of dollars while Hillary served as Secretary of State. The foundation accepted donations from foreign governments and corporations that had business before the State Department, creating obvious conflicts of interest. Countries that had never shown interest in charitable giving suddenly became generous donors to the Clinton Foundation while Hillary was making foreign policy decisions. Saudi Arabia, a country not exactly known for its humanitarian efforts, donated millions to an organization run by America's chief diplomat. Russia, our supposed adversary, contributed to the foundation while Hillary was negotiating nuclear treaties and sanctions policy.
I don't think the Clintons were involved with P. Diddy, do you?
No, but Epstein.
Was Epstein involved with P. Diddy?
No, I just feel like these pedophile rings have to cross points at some point.
Like, I was infuriated when people that I knew that I was friends with were trying to tell me that Hillary Clinton was a good choice. And that's the same choice. I'm like, look, I don't know if she's murdered people, but I know that I worry that she's murdered people. That's I really wonder. Like, this Seth Rich.
I know. First of all, just leave. You don't even need to go there. You know,
there's so many other things.
There's so many other things that we know for a fact.
The Clinton Foundation, for instance.
First, she wasn't elected. Now Hillary's class gets rejected. True, even students on the left give Professor Clinton an F. Students in Hillary Clinton's new class says it sucks. Even more than an intern who... you know where this is going. But it's the smartest realization on campus since someone realized you could put vodka up your butt. Thanks, Shannon.
Joe Rogan asked the obvious question that mainstream media refused to address: how do you run a charity and somehow become wealthier in the process? The Clinton Foundation operated more like a political slush fund than a legitimate charitable organization. Staff salaries consumed massive portions of donations. Luxury travel was standard operating procedure, and actual charitable work seems secondary to building political influence. Greg Gutfeld described the foundation as the world's most expensive networking event disguised as humanitarian work. The money flowed in from foreign sources, got filtered through foundation operations, and somehow always seemed to benefit the Clinton political machine. When Hillary lost the 2016 election and could no longer offer political favors, donations to the foundation mysteriously dried up. Apparently, foreign governments and corporations lost their sudden interest in fighting global poverty the moment Hillary couldn't influence American foreign policy. The 2016 election loss should have been Hillary's final political humiliation, but instead it became the launching point for the most pathetic blame tour in political history. Rather than accepting responsibility for running a terrible campaign, Hillary spent the next several years blaming everyone except herself. Russian interference, FBI investigations, sexist voters, biased media coverage, Bernie Sanders supporters, third-party candidates. Everyone was responsible except the candidate who couldn't connect with working-class voters in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Joe Rogan compared Hillary's post-election behavior to a professional athlete who loses a championship and then spends years blaming the referees, the weather, and the opposing team's equipment. At some point, you have to look in the mirror and acknowledge that maybe you just weren't good enough. Greg Gutfeld noted that Hillary's blame tour lasted longer than most presidential campaigns, suggesting she spent more time making excuses than she did actually trying to win.
Why Dems seem to be going out of their way to lose elections by focusing on causes that only affect a small fraction of voters. Funny, asking Hillary how to win elections is like asking France how to win wars. But she seemed to admit the interview was right, chasing woke issues, noting, quote, "Look, the most important thing is to win the next election. The alternative is so frightening that whatever does not help you win should not be a priority."
If you watch the conversation between James Comey...
110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information.
When James Comey testified about what he did and what they found with the Hillary Clinton emails, and then her version of it...
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material.
She's just a straight liar. She deleted 33,000 emails.
I provided all my emails that could possibly be work-related.
Several thousand work-related emails that were not among the group of 30,000 emails returned by Secretary Clinton.
When they rigged the DNC, they rigged the primaries so that Bernie Sanders was...
The most infuriating aspect of Hillary's electoral defeat was her complete inability to understand why voters rejected her message. She represented everything that was wrong with modern politics: corporate connections, foreign money, insider dealing, and a sense of entitlement that suggested the presidency was owed to her rather than earned. Voters wanted change, and she offered more of the same failed policies that had been enriching political elites while leaving regular Americans behind. Her attempts to stay relevant through media appearances have been equally disastrous. Every interview, every podcast appearance, every television segment reveals someone completely disconnected from political reality. Hillary continues to speak as if she's a respected elder stateswoman rather than someone who lost the most winnable election in modern history. Her recent appearance on The View was particularly cringeworthy, as she lectured Americans about democracy while representing everything voters hate about the political establishment. Joe Rogan pointed out that Hillary's media strategy seems designed to remind people why they didn't vote for her in the first place. Every time she opens her mouth, she reinforces the perception that she's out of touch, entitled, and fundamentally dishonest. Greg Gutfeld described her continued media presence as political masochism, voluntarily subjecting herself to public humiliation while somehow believing she's winning supporters. The identity politics strategy that defined Hillary's 2016 campaign has only become more toxic in the years since her defeat. Rather than learning from her mistakes, she's doubled down on the divisive rhetoric that cost her the election. Her recent comments about woke politics were particularly revealing, as she criticized Democrats for focusing too heavily on progressive issues, but only after these same issues helped cost her the presidency. Hillary's approach to identity politics wasn't about genuine advocacy for marginalized communities. It was about political calculation and vote harvesting. She would adjust her positions based on polling data rather than principled beliefs. Her support for various causes always seemed to coincide with election cycles, suggesting that her advocacy was more about winning votes than creating meaningful change. Joe Rogan called her the diversity bingo card brought to life, someone who tried to check every possible demographic box without actually connecting with any specific community. Greg Gutfeld described her identity politics strategy as political hopscotch on fault lines, designed to divide voters into narrow categories rather than unite them around common interests.
All right, she lost an election, and now she's projecting. Hillary Clinton went on The View this week, which immediately raises a serious question. What's the weight capacity for that stage? But you'll never guess what she talked about. Her love of gardening, the things she does to stay healthy, how much she adores catching and cooking stray kittens. Nah, it was Donald Trump as expected.
The Hillary Clintons are the people that are like maybe disrespectful to the servers, and you find out about it, they sent food back.
The Democrat wall of support for Hillary Clinton's use of a private, unsecure server for official government emails and attachments. Yeah, I remember all of that.
It's not the main guy, it's the support staff.
Her party rallied to her defense. And to this day, it maintains she did nothing wrong. Of course.
Her recent teaching position at Columbia University represents the ultimate example of failing upward in American politics. Despite losing the most important election of her career, making terrible foreign policy decisions as Secretary of State, and operating what appeared to be a pay-to-play charity scheme, she was rewarded with a prestigious academic position. The woman who couldn't win over American voters is now teaching the next generation about public policy and international relations. Student reviews of her classes have been particularly brutal, with many describing her lectures as boring, out of touch, and focused more on settling old political scores than actual education. Even liberal students, who should theoretically be her target audience, seem unimpressed by her academic offerings. Joe Rogan joked that asking Hillary how to win elections is like asking France how to win wars. Technically, they have experience, but the results speak for themselves. Greg Gutfeld suggested that Hillary's teaching career is just another attempt to rehabilitate her public image through academic credibility, rather than earning respect respect through actual accomplishments, she's trying to purchase legitimacy through institutional affiliation. It's the same pattern that's defined her entire career, using connections and insider status to avoid accountability for repeated failures. The most disturbing aspect of Hillary's continued political presence is her complete lack of self-awareness. She genuinely seems to believe that she was cheated out of the presidency rather than rejected by voters who saw through her carefully constructed political persona. This delusion prevents her from learning from her mistakes and continues to poison Democratic politics years after her defeat. Her ongoing commentary on current events reveals someone stuck in the past, fighting battles that were already lost while the political landscape shifts around her. Hillary represents the old model of American politics, corporate-friendly, internationally connected, and fundamentally disconnected from the concerns of regular Americans. Her continued prominence within Democratic circles prevents the party from moving forward with fresh faces and new ideas. Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld's brutal assessment of Hillary Clinton wasn't just entertainment, it was a necessary reckoning with one of the most destructive figures in modern American politics. Someone who combined personal corruption, political incompetence, and institutional protection in ways that undermined public trust in democratic governance. Her refusal to gracefully exit the political stage continues to remind voters why they rejected her message in the first place. The tragedy isn't that Hillary Clinton lost the 2016 election, it's that she never understood why she deserved to lose it. Until she disappears from public life entirely, she'll continue serving as a reminder of everything that's wrong with American political culture. Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld just said what millions of Americans have been thinking for years. It's time for Hillary Clinton to finally accept defeat and fade into the political irrelevance she's earned through decades of failure and corruption.